That'll make him right there. All right, so Ingrid's piano recital this week is this afternoon. She's not playing, but Tyler is. And a whole bunch of other kids. All right, we've been going through 1st, 2nd, 3rd John. You remember that? That was a long time ago. It was like forever ago. 1 John, the theme of 1 John was assurance of salvation. He's talking about truth. How do we have assurance of salvation? Not truth. And truth and love, and the relationship of truth and love. You can't have truth without love, you can't have love without truth. People go together. People try to use one without the other. It doesn't work. Neither one is real. 2 John, he talked to a family, a lady and her family, about not showing hospitality and thus supporting false teaching. We don't want to be in support of false teaching because that's not true. So we got to be loving. What did I say? Truth and love together, can't one without the other. So if you think you're being loving by helping someone who's spreading false teaching, you're not being loving, are you? And we have to be careful who we help. Why is it so important who we help? Well, it's important because that's why we're here. Why we exist. The reason God leaves us on here, have you ever asked yourself that question? Why did God leave? I didn't say why did God put you on here. That's another whole topic in itself. But once you come to faith in Jesus, you have to ask yourself the question, why did God leave me here? Why didn't I just immediately get raptured to heaven? As soon as I accepted the Lord, why didn't I just put my faith in Jesus Christ and go to heaven immediately? That would have been awesome. Why is it that God loves us so much, he doesn't do that? Usually. Sometimes he does. But usually he doesn't. He leaves us here. Why would God leave me here after I've placed my faith in him? He leaves me here so that I can go through all kinds of hardship. Why does he do that? Does he not love me? Yes, he does. He does love me. He does love me. That's why he lets me go through hardship on the way in. You mean bad things happen to... Well, first of all, there's no good people. I hate to break it to you. There are no good people. Didn't Jesus say that? Yes. Why do you call me good? There is no one good except God. So Jesus was good, and he is good, and always will be good. Remember that. Because when he does things in your life, not just allows, but does things, it's a big thing to accept. When something bad happens in your life, first of all, is it really bad? That's a question I have to ask yourself. We could have a whole series on that, couldn't we? But when God not just allows, but puts things into our life, being sovereign God, that gives me such peace of God's sovereignty and control. He brings things into my life. He puts them there for me so that I can grow, so I can learn, and so that I have reward in heaven. See, when you go to heaven, you want to go with your bags full or your bags empty? I want to go with my bags full. I want to have all kinds of stuff waiting for me. I don't have to pay a baggage. I'm not bringing stuff with me. I send it ahead. See, so when I get to heaven, there will be stuff waiting for me there. The Bible's very clear about that. He calls it our reward. And Jesus says that when he comes, at the end of all things, he said, and my reward is with me. He brings it with him. So he's going to come and bring the reward with him. Now, we want that reward when we get to heaven. If we want that reward, what do we have to do for it? Earn it. Well, I thought, Pastor Tim, you're always telling us that we don't earn our salvation. After what? We don't earn it. You don't earn your salvation. You get to heaven, Because of the grace of God. Don't you? If you ever think that you have to earn any part of your salvation, that's false teaching. That's wrong. That's not salvation. You understand that? You're not a believer in the gospel if you think your earning has anything to do with your salvation. So those who teach that you have to do something, add anything to your faith, for instance, some people teach that you must be baptized to be saved. What would that be? That would be works. That would be saying you have to do something to be saved. No, the Bible's very clear. You don't do anything. If that were true, that you had to be baptized to be saved, what about the thief on the cross? He didn't have a chance to be baptized, and Jesus said, today you'll be with me in paradise. He couldn't do anything. So we know that salvation is not of works, lest any man should boast. It's purely of grace. But God has placed, in fact, God said that He created us to do good works. And He's planned it all out. Before He ever created the earth, He planned out things for us to do once we're saved. Things to do so that our reward will be great. And we can lose that reward. There are things we can do to lose that reward. We don't want to do that. So we want, in 2 John, He even talked about that. So we won't lose our reward. So we want to have that reward. So after we're saved, God leaves us here on the earth so that we can do stuff, so that we can become more. How do you get that reward? By becoming more like Jesus. And this is where you get into this. Well, who actually makes me more like Jesus? Well, God does. He's the one who does it. So in His grace, He's letting us be a part of His work in us so that we can get reward for it as we're with Him. So we look forward to it, even though it all comes from Him. He gives it to us. So when God allows me to go through something difficult in my life, He's doing that to grow me, to teach me, and also so I can gain rewards by fellowshipping with Him. And Paul called that the fellowship of His sufferings. They're doing the same thing. Fellowship is two people going the same way, doing the same thing, okay? With the same agenda. So, do you have the same agenda that God has? That's the question. God has an agenda to save those He's chosen to save. And He wants you to be a part of that. He wants you to be a part of the process. What's the part that we get to have in that process? Pardon? Helping. How do we? Sharing the gospel. That's right. All we do is share the gospel. He gives us the opportunity. We read what the Bible says. We share that with them. And that person, in response, gets saved. And we can say, God did that. And He let me be a part of it by sharing the gospel. Does God need us to do that? Absolutely not. He skipped the whole process, do it all Himself. And He didn't do that. He didn't skip it. Why? Because He wants to give us the opportunity to have reward. He wants to bless us. If He loves His children, guess what He does? And He wants to bless His children, guess what He does? He has to make a way to do that. So the way to do that is by giving us opportunities in our life. So He leaves us here on the earth to serve Him. So your question then needs to be, what does He want me to do? If I'm still here, you wake up in the morning and you say, hey, I'm still here. That's always a good thing. I'm still here. Well, I don't know. It's a good thing. Should I be in heaven or should I be here? And sometimes we don't know how to answer that. Paul said that, didn't he? I don't know whether I should be in heaven or if I should be here. I'm kind of struggling with this. I'd rather be in heaven. On the other hand, I'd rather be here to help you. If I'm here, it's to help you. Look at that answer he came up with. If I'm here, it's to help you. Oh, I thought it was here for me. No, you're not here for you. Okay? So it's not about you. You're still being on the earth after you're saved. It's not about you. It's about others. What does God want you to do to help someone else? How can you teach someone else? How can you share the gospel with someone else? How can you help someone else find the truth? So all of us have been given the same responsibility in Christ after salvation. Everybody in the church has the same job. to share the gospel with people and to help them find truth. Now you have to figure out what part of that you play. Some of you, God might call to be teachers. Is that a good thing to desire to be a teacher? Is that a good thing? Some reason. Don't make me be a teacher. Okay. Okay, some of you know you haven't been given that gift, have you? Some of you have. Some of you, God has said, you're going to be a teacher. You're going to teach God's word to people. Well, then what's everybody else going to do? Because not everybody can be a teacher. What kind of a church would you have if everyone was a teacher? A boring church, because everybody would be trying to teach each other and nothing would get done. And how would they be supported to be a teacher? See? So God shares out the blessings, He shares out the gifts amongst the church, and He says, okay, go, here's some teachers. Now, here's some people that are doers. Here's some people who are helpers. Here's some people who are encouragers. Here's some people who are people who show mercy. Here's some people who pray. Okay, so he hands out all those gifts. Now, does anyone get better than the other? Absolutely not. But what if you take away one group of gifts? What do you have? Big missing piece. The other piece is going to work well? No. You need them all. So it's vital that you know that you're doing your role. It isn't vital that you know specifically what your role is. Some people think you have to take all kinds of tests. You have to be able to determine exactly what your spiritual gift is. I can care less if you know exactly what your spiritual gift is. Because you have the Word of God that gives you the lists, like a number of lists of the fruit of the Spirit. How many are we responsible for? All of them. All of them. We are responsible to do all of them, and God will sort out who He enables to do what with what kind of effectiveness. Right? So you cannot say necessarily, well, I'm definitely given the gift of mercy. I just know it. No, you've probably been given the gift of arrogance. That's all it's what you have. Okay, so don't try to figure out what you're the best at, because it's all God anyway. You do what God's called you to do and let Him figure out what's effective, who gets affected by what you do. But it all interplays. Okay, so now let's go to 3 John. Because 3 John is a book in which John is writing to an individual. That's different. Now, 2 John was written to a lady and her family about what she did in the church. But now we have a letter written to a man, one single man, because of what was going on in the church. Sometimes church leadership, I don't know if you ever noticed this, but sometimes church leadership makes mistakes. You believe it. Sometimes church leadership isn't perfect. Sometimes church leaders sin. You're right, it's not. People sin. And sometimes it gets so bad that church leaders make a mistake and the rest of the church doesn't do anything about it. That is bad, isn't it? If all the church people don't do anything about the sin of a leader, they let them go with it. And thus the whole church is affected, and they do nothing about it. That is wrong. And so John cannot write a letter to the church in this instance. In fact, he had already. He wrote a letter to the church, but there was a man involved in the leadership of the church whose name was Diotrephes. And Diotrephes had so much arrogance, all he cared about was himself, that he did not allow the letter from John to go out to the church. He hid it. And so John had to write another letter, but instead of writing it to the church leadership, he wrote that letter to one man, and he sent it with another man. That man's name was Demetrius. So this letter, this little letter, is about 5 characters. Every book you read in the Bible has major characters, major players, doesn't it? Now, can you tell me, who is the number 1 character in every book of the Bible? Close. God. God is the character. He is the main character of every book of the Bible. Sometimes we miss that. Sometimes we read the book of Jonah and we think the main character is Jonah. No. and it's not fish. The main character of John is God. Okay? We're on what did God do? And some people miss that when they read the book of Esther. They say, well, God's not even in the book of Esther. Oh, yes, he is. He's the main character. That's what it's all about. Okay? The book of Ruth. What's that all about? It's about God. What are we supposed to learn about God? So in 3 John, the main character is God. The second character we're going to learn about is John. John is an apostle. He's the main apostle writing to the churches at the time. So who had more authority in the workings of the church than John? Nobody. John had the authority, and yet when he wrote, he didn't exercise that authority. He didn't say, I'm the boss, listen to me. He just said, this is what God says. Very loving God. That's what John is known for. So we have God, we have John, and the next person we have is Gaius. But then we have Diotrephes, who's a bad guy. Ooh. Okay. And we have Demetrius, who's a good guy. Okay, so John writes this letter to Gaius, or Gaius, the Romans say Gaius. And he writes this letter to Gaius, who we don't really know anything else about, except that he's involved in his church, and he's been helping people. And he's writing about a man named Demetrius, who's coming to share the gospel with the people of the area. But there's another guy named Diotrephes, who's a leader in the area, but he's a bad leader of the church. And he's just trying to get attention for himself. Boy, we see a lot of that in churches today, though. So a guy just wants attention for himself. It's all about me. If there's anything that takes away from my glory and my fame, we're not going to talk about that. So John has no other option but to write a letter to Gaius. Talk to him about what's happening in the church. So let's see what he says. Beloved, the elder to the beloved Gaius, whom I love in truth. He loves him. They know each other. And he knows him. And he's had time with him. He spent time with him before. And he knows he's a faithful man. And so he writes him, he says, whom I love in the truth. Isn't it interesting how we have a special kind of fellowship and love for Christians? Anyway. I don't know if you've traveled much. Some of you have traveled. And you find other Christians in other parts of the world, in other states, and you find out they're a Christian, you start talking about the Lord and about His Word, and you just know there's this love between you. You might have never met them. There's this fellowship that you have because we're standing in truth. Love and truth go together. Now, what if I know that that person doesn't agree with me about what God's Word says? That person doesn't believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Am I going to have the same love for them? No. Doesn't matter what other kind of things we share in common. We might both love the Eagles. We might both love motorcycles. We might both like the can. Well, great, we can have a certain fellowship with each other, but you know what? He doesn't agree about the truth. That means he's the enemy of God. Am I going to have the same kind of fellowship with him? No. John says, Gaius, I love you in the truth. So they have a reason for John to write to him, and it's based on the love of the truth. Now, the thing that binds us, we must always remember that the thing that binds us together as a church is that we love the truth. How many truths are there? There's only one. We love the truth. So we might have great fellowship together. We might all love potlucks. We might all love camping. We might all love guns. We might all love great cooking. But if we don't agree on the truth, we're not very unified. We might have a great time together, but it's not the same. The truth is what binds us together. So doctrine is important because you must agree with, who are we agreeing with when we agree on doctrine? We're agreeing with God. So if we disagree on doctrine, who are we disagreeing with? God. See, doctrine is what God said. That's what doctrine is. Doctrine is the truth of what God said. So if I have a difference of opinion with God, I'm in trouble. So I hope none of you have a difference of opinion with God. Oh, by the way, we do every day. So God says, here's what I want you to do. And we say, maybe. Wrong answer. Okay. So prayer is going to God and saying, God, whatever you say, that's what I want. That's prayer. It's not going to God and saying, God, what I want is what you should want. Here's what I want you to do. that prayer? No. What if there's 2 or 3 of us gathered together and we agree? Oh, that doesn't negate it. Okay? That's not the factor. Okay? The factor is, what does God say? That's the determining factor. So we go to God and say, God, I agree. Whatever you say, I agree with that. I want that to happen. So, John says, Gaius, I love you in the truth. Beloved, look at verse 2. I want you to see, this is the greatest prayer in the world. Verse 2. I pray that in all respects you may prosper and be in good health, just as your soul prospers. Wow. He says, I want you to prosper. I want you to be in good health, as much as your soul prospers. Wait, doesn't he have that backwards? Most of us don't pray that way, do we? We don't say to someone, I'm going to pray that you're just as healthy as you are spiritually. Well, don't say that to me. Because a lot of people know they're not very spiritually healthy, are they? They're not in good shape spiritually. They're not following after Christ. They're not studying His Word. They're not trying to do what God wants them to do. And therefore, you're saying, I want you to be just as physically healthy as you are spiritually healthy. Well, that would be bad. That shows you what His priorities are, doesn't it? He said, I know that you guys are spiritually mature. You're prospering spiritually. You're seeking Christ. And I want you to be the same physically and materially. I'm praying that you would be. Isn't that a great thing to pray for someone? It is. Providing that they are doing well spiritually. So, therefore, what should we be praying for people first? The first thing we should pray for other people is what? Spiritual health. So if we go to God first and pray for people about their physical health, we've skipped a step. We need to pray first for their spiritual health. Then we pray that God will prosper them and cause them to be physically healthy as they are spiritually. Because if someone is not spiritually healthy, what might God need to use to bring them to that? Physical. Sometimes God has to do it. Now let's not be Pharisees and start saying, oh, anybody that's sick, they're not spiritually healthy. Wrong. That's not true. Because Jesus suffered. Paul suffered. Paul went to God and said, God, take this from me. And God said, no. My grace is enough. Interesting, I found my dad's prayer journal for my mom. He had a whole journal all just for praying for my mom. Every day. And that day, the day he died, he prayed for her. And he listed different things on there. Every day he prayed for things like that she'd be free from pain and things like that. But the last one was always grace. Prayed for her that she would have grace. That God would give her unmerited faith. Isn't that a great thing to pray for someone? So we got to be praying for that. That should be our top priority, praying for someone that their spiritual soul prosper. Verse 3. For I was very glad when brethren came and testified to your truth. That is how you are walking in truth. He was walking in truth. Gaius was walking in truth. He was living the truth. That's love and truth together. He was living in truth. But to such an extent, look, I have no greater joy than this, to hear of my children walking in truth. He said, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children, John was saying, you are one of my spiritual children. And you're walking in truth. There's nothing greater than to know that the people that you are teaching the Lord are walking in truth. Now that's interesting because in 2 John, he had said to the chosen lady, he said, I have heard that your physical children are walking in truth, and that should bring you great joy. And all the grandparents said, amen. It's great to see our children and our grandchildren walking in the truth of Christ. And John said, there's nothing that brings me greater joy than to know my spiritual children are walking in truth. Verse 5, beloved, you are acting faithfully in whatever you accomplish for the brethren, and especially when they are strangers. And they have testified to your love before the church. You will do well to send them on their way in a manner worthy of God. So how should you always send other Christians who are serving God? If you're going to help them, how do you want to lead it? How do you want to lead it? He says, in a way worthy of God. So even if they're strangers, even if you don't know who they are, if you ever had an opportunity to help a fellow Christian who you knew was serving God, was preaching the gospel, was teaching others. You had a way to help them, encourage them. How do you want to lead them? He says, like you're doing for God. You treat them like they're God. So you don't give them the least of what you have. You don't give them the second best. You don't ship off to the missionaries what you're throwing away, right? He says, no, you give them what you would give God. If God came to your house to visit, and he was going to leave in a couple hours. Would you go out scrounging through your house and say, what kind of scraps do we have to give? Okay, let's see what we don't need, right? Let's give that to God. No. If God came to visit your house, and he was going to leave, physically, this happened in the Old Testament. What happened when the three men came to visit Abraham? Did he go looking for scraps? No. He said, let's make a great feast. Let's have a great sacrifice. Let's make everything for these guys and send them on their way with the best luck. Why do you do that? Because he knows God. So if you're going to do something for anybody, if you're going to partake in helping them, give them the best. So in a manner worthy of God. So that's just a hint for you that when John comes to visit in a few months, maybe you ought to help him out with his best, right? 4, they went out for the sake of the name, accepting nothing from the Gentiles. Now, when Jesus sent out the disciples 2 by 2, this was an example of what he wanted to happen here. So when they go out, they're going out for the sake of the name. What name? Jesus Christ is Lord, that name. So that's why they go out, and they're not allowed to accept help from the world. Sometimes the world wants to give you help. There's a seminary out in California that needed the money, so they went to the government. The government said, yeah, we'll give you help. All you have to do is promise not to preach the gospel to Muslims for 2 years. I said, sure, we'll do that. So they said, we're not going to preach the gospel to Muslims for 2 years because they believe the same God as us. Wrong. And so they forsook the truth for money. So they get money. Don't do that. That's an easy one, right? Don't do that. So, but these guys would not accept help from the world from unsaved people. So John says, so we need help. We need help. Therefore, we ought to support such men so that we may be fellow workers with the truth. Key phrase. We need to be fellow workers with the truth. Okay? Everything we do in life, that's why we're here. Why are we still here? I got saved, why am I still here? So that I can be a fellow worker with the truth. I'm not here to entertain myself. I'm not here just to raise a family. I'm not here to just live in my neighborhood. I'm not here to do whatever my job is. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to be a fellow worker with the truth. And figure out a way to do it. Whatever it takes. Whatever my part isn't. If my part is to make money, to send the money, that's what I'm here for. If I'm here to preach the gospel, then that's what I'm here for. If I'm here to feed people, then that's what I'm here for. Whatever I'm doing is to be a partaker in the fellowship of sending out the truth. That's what I'm here for. So he said, therefore, we ought to support such men so that we may be fellow workers with the truth. Now, in Matthew chapter 10, Jesus said that if you help a person who's doing God's work, you're doing God's work. Isn't that cool? So if you see something that someone that's doing something to serve God and they're living the truth and love, and you do something to help them, you get the credit for what they're doing. Just like you're doing it. So some people say, well, I don't like the role that God gave me. I don't like my spiritual gift. I want the other spiritual gift. Tough. Okay? Now, you get to do what God tells you to do. How many people cannot accept what God says? Muslims, right? We don't want to accept what God says. So God says, guess what? You're a man. Okay, I'm a man. God says, you're a woman. Cool. God says, I'm a woman. Okay, God says you're a father. God says you're a child. God says you get to be a truck driver. God says you get to be a farmer. God says you get to be a pastor. Guess what? You do what God says. You don't ask him, I want to be the other. Okay? Then all of us do it together. We all get equal credit. It doesn't matter what we're doing. We're partakers together. So disciples of Jesus walked with Jesus, and he did a miracle. He was giving credit to the disciples. We're all partakers together. That's why he let them be part of it, and he handed out the bread. So people hand out this bread. He didn't say, you sit down and watch it all. I'll just do it all. No, he gave them things to do, so they were all part of it. And that's what he does with us. Verse 9. All right, I'm going to get a bad guy. You ever notice these bad guys in a lot of these stories? Why? Because they're human. Verse 9. I wrote something to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to be first among them, don't ever be that. And we catch ourselves doing this all the time, don't we? Sometimes we need to look in the spiritual mirror and remind ourselves what we look like. And if we look in the spiritual mirror and we see Diotrephes, we need to change what we look like. What did he look like? He wanted to be first. There's always somebody that wants to be first. They want the credit. They want the job. They want to be the first. That's what Diotrephes. Who loves to be first among them. He does not accept what we say. The first thing we notice about a person who wants to be first, they do not accept what God says. Somewhere along the line, they reject something God says. Why? Because sin and self don't get along with the Spirit. Sin and self don't get along with the Spirit. So he doesn't accept what they say. Verse 10. For this reason, what's John going to do about it? If I come, I will call attention to his deeds, which he does, unjustly accusing us. And that word is the same word that we use for Satan, accusing, slandering, with wicked words. And not satisfied with this, he himself does not receive the brethren either, for he forbids those who desire to do so and puts them out of the church. This guy was so full of himself that he would not receive the brother who came with the truth from God. People who were preaching the truth, he would say, no, you don't want to hear them? They're not talking about me. Don't listen to that. It's all about me. And if you did try to help them, he would put you out of the church. Does this guy have power or what? We still don't know who he was as far as where in the church. It's interesting. We never know who's actually the power person in church. I know years ago I worked at a Southern Baptist church in Florida. And the Florida Association did a study on who actually runs the church. Who's the person who really controls what happens in the church? That was a close second. Church secretary was a close second. It actually turned out to be one of the deacons' wives. Most churches in that fellowship, it turned out the person who really got things going and ran what happened was the wife of one of the deacons. Don't start thinking about that. Okay, that's not true in our church. I just wanted to say that. You never know who the power person is, do you? It can be anybody. And here's the unfortunate thing. A lot of times in a church, a person will be the power person and nobody does anything about it. Do you think God wants us to do something about it? Absolutely he does. He cares about his church. So if we know that we're not allowing Christ to be the power person in the church, we got a problem. Doesn't matter who else it is. Doesn't matter if it's the pastor, or a deacon, or a deacon's wife, or a little kid in the nursery. Because it could be anybody. If we allow a human being to control what happens in our fellowship instead of Jesus, that's wrong. So he says, verse 11, beloved, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. So what is the evil? Evil's geography. Well, what is good? Well, good, it turns out to be Gaius to some extent, but also Demetrius. Demetrius is a preacher of the gospel who was coming through town, and is probably the man who carried this letter. He carried the letter and gave it to Gaius. Letter from John. Verse 12. Demetrius has received a good testimony from who? Everybody. Everybody. We haven't come across anybody that has a bad thing to say about Demetrius, except maybe Diotrephes once a week. But no, everybody says he's a good guy. Everybody says he stands for the truth. That's a standard to go for. And from the truth itself. You know, you're becoming Christ-like if you look in the spiritual mirror and you look like Jesus. The truth itself said that Demetrius was a good guy. And we add our testimony. John says, we add our testimony. This guy's doing what's right. And you know that our testimony is true. You can't doubt our testimony. So imitate then that. Don't imitate the evil thing. Boy, there's a lesson for us to learn. We are always imitating something, aren't we? We're always imitating something. And unfortunately, we lose track sometimes of what we're imitating. It tends to be whatever's in front of us the most is what we imitate. And here's a good reason to make sure that Jesus is what's in front of you. The Word of God and godly examples of Christ, you want to put those in front of yourself all the time. If the world's always in front of you, what the world says is always in front of you, the teachings of the world, the movies of the world, the TV of the world, the radio of the world, the newspaper of the world, that's what you see all the time, that's what you're going to imitate. If you're around that all the time, that's what you're going to imitate. Don't do that. It says, do not imitate what is evil, imitate what is good. You're always imitating something. I already said that, but what is it you're imitating? Think about that today. What is it? Who is it that you are imitating? Maybe you need to start replacing what's in front of you, or who's in front of you. I had many things to write to you, but I'm not willing to write them to you with pen and ink. The same thing he said in a second. There's so much I want to talk to you about, I can't write it all down. So I'm going to come talk to you face to face. You can relate. Now, some people they would never talk to you face to face. They would only tell you behind something, right? It's easier to send a Facebook message that tells everybody what you think. No, maybe you need to talk face to face. But I hope to see you shortly, and I'll speak face to face. Peace be to you. The friends greet you. Greet the friends by name. Now that's interesting. Here's John, the apostle, and he says to this guy in this little church. Some people think it's Pergamum, but we don't know for sure. But he says, greet these people by name. He knows them. He knows these people by name. You'd think that a big-time speaker, he doesn't care about who these people are. He doesn't deal with their names. No, he knows their name. Now, why do you think he knows their name? Pardon? He's preached to them. Some of them very spiritual children. And I bet he preached. The people you remember are the people you pray for. And he knows them by name. He says, greet them by name. I was about to. So, what a great challenge we have from John. To be careful, in 2 John, be careful who we support. That we're not supporting false teaching. But then in 3 John, he blesses us, encourages us to support those who are speaking the truth, even if someone else is opposing it. Especially if someone else is opposing it. It's more important than we do encourage and support the truth. Lord, we thank you for you. Thank you, Lord, for big messages that we see in some of these larger books and then these little personal notes that we see here that John wrote. Thank you for this way that you show us a personal faith, a loving faith that's grounded in you. We want to be like you. So help us to imitate you, to transfer our affections from the world to you. We would seek to be like you, seek to teach things about you to other people, that we grow together in fellowship with us. Thank you for this church, the way that you allow us to love each other. For all this in Jesus' name.